Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Riayatit Taufiqah. I'm a student of Department of English Education, UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta. And now I want to present the textbook that I have read. Actually, it is the second YouTube presentation that I have to upload in my YouTube channel for the subject extensive reading. Okay, now I want to tell you about the textbook title, and the title is Techniques Teaching Writing, that's written by Raimes, and the genre of the textbook is reference. Okay, for the authors, Raimes is one of the professor of English for 32 years in England, and she was born in England and educated in England too. And based on the information that I get, that she was graduated from Oxford University. Okay, for the textbook, generally this textbook explains about the techniques in teaching writing, for many techniques that can be used in this teaching. That for the techniques, there are many media or the process or the thing that can be used and useful to help the teacher teaching writing, and also explains about what the teacher will do for the writing of the students, and what is the feedback or the evaluation that the teacher will give to the student, and not just from the teacher but also from the student itself. Okay, move to the chapters of the textbook. This textbook divided into 9 chapters, and the first chapters, that is the introduction, that tells about the teaching writing in ESL classes, and for this chapter tells about the focus on the teaching writing in ESL classes, that contains about some approach that is useful for the teaching writing process, and for example the grammar approach, and also the communicative approach, or the paragraph pattern approach, and any approach that's related to the writing. And actually in the chapter also explains about the briefs about the speaking, but because the speaking there is a relation to writing too. And move the next chapter. The second chapter tells about the planning in the classes. For the second chapter is divided into 7 basic questions, that is what is the teachers will do to help the student makes the learning in second language is better through learning the writing, and also what is the enough topic for the student writing, or what is the way that the teacher will use to solve or to correct the errors that the students writing, and also what is the way for the teacher to find and to make the writing of the student meaningful, and also what is the purpose of the writing of the student, and also who is the reader of the teaching of the writing of the. For the third chapters, or chapter 3, explains about the techniques in using pictures. Actually, this based on these chapters, picture has some beneficial to be used in teaching writing. As the chapters, the teacher can use the pictures and put it in the table or in the whiteboard, and then the student can have the imagination, can have the feeling what will they write and what is the topics that they will write on their papers, and based on the pictures that provided by the teachers. And also the teacher can provide the specific picture and ask the student to write about that topics. And for the fourth chapters tells about the techniques in using reading. Actually, reading is very useful for teaching for writing teaching, because when we read something, we can make our reading as our writing. It means that based on the chapters, that technique of using reading for the writing, the reading can be a source of the topic of the writing. The student can write about the new information or about the news that as the topic of their writing. For the next chapters, that is the chapter 5, that explains about the techniques in using all language skills. It means that there are many process or practice in this teaching that use the language skills of the student, because based on these chapters, if the teachers use the techniques, that is the language skill, they can also learn about the linguistics of the language, and then the student can use that linguistic to make the writing better. And for the practice, the students can do the interviews or the interviews or something that relate to the other person, that it is better if different language skills. And the next chapter tells about the techniques in teaching practical writing. Actually, for these techniques is usually finding in everyday life, in everyday activity, because for these techniques, the student can use the daily notes or the diary or the memo or the letters to practice the writing. And it is better if the student can enjoy to do this activity to improve the writing skills. For the next chapter, chapter 7, the techniques in using counter writing. For this counter writing, is the purpose is to enlarge the knowledge about the student, and they can use that their knowledge in their writing. And for this chapter, there are many things that the student can do. For the first, for the example, is question and answer or parallel writing, because if the student do question and answer on also the parallel writing, the student can improve, can enhance, can enlarge the knowledge about the writing. And for the next chapter, chapter 8, the techniques in teaching organization. For this teaching organization is used to develop the ideas that the students have to develop their ideas, and also the to make the process of the writing of the student can be better. And the idea uh, that the students develop is from the first idea, from the beginning to the ending of the idea of the writing. The last chapter tells about the techniques in responding the writing of the students. And for this responding, it means the feedback or the evaluation for the writing that students made. It can use many things that the student uh, will correct the errors of the writing of the student. And also not just give the correct of the not just correcting the errors, but also give more or give the adding informations about the knowledge of the writing skills. And also the student can ask the students to make better, to correcting the writing of the students by itself, because it's better if the students can use their knowledge to correct their writing, that errors writing. And I think for these textbooks is very useful, especially for the teacher, the writing materials in the class. And I think it is very useful for the student of development of of English language education, because it is very detailed, the explanation about the techniques of the teaching of the writing. I think I have to recommend you to read this textbook to improve your writing skills, and also to prepare yourself to teach the writing skills. And I think enough for the textbook presentation from me. And